Good evening, mommies, titas, and ates. I am here again, the virtual ate. If you can hear me, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. I'm really looking forward to giving you guys the Soft Skills 101 training tonight. It is something that I really came up with because Mommy MK knows that you guys need this because this is something that is super important, whether you have a physical career or a digital career. So let me know in the comments if you mommies can hear me, if you titas and ates can hear me, and then we'll start in a little bit. So I will be sharing my screen so we can get started right away. Okay. Okay, so like I mentioned, tonight we're going to be talking about Soft Skills 101 beyond the technical. I'm going to be covering all of the skills that you don't think that you need, but is actually essential if you are going to be working from home. It's essential if whether or not, again, you have a physical career or a digital career. This is all what I'm going to be covering tonight. So if you're excited, if you are here, let me know again in the comments because, like I said, I'm really excited about talking about this because it's not usually something that you think of that you need, but if you've been working for a while, you know that this is something that is super important for you. So I like to say hello to hi Gail, hi Ray Ray, hi Net, hi seeing a lot of chats. From Emos, we have a couple of people tuning in. Thank you so much, guys. So again, tonight we're just talking about Soft Skills 101. So I really encourage you guys to ask questions if you have questions. If I'm going to be talking too fast, let me know also in the comments. I know I have had the record of talking too fast when I get too excited. So please do let me know. Let me know also where you're listening from or watching from, whether you are having me right now as a partner while you are cooking your dinner or while you're kind of just relaxing for the day. Let me know in the comments. So for those who have no idea who I am, my name is Lai Lacaba. I am the virtual ate. I've been working from home since I was 15 years old. So I was a teenager when I started getting paid working online. I started out as a writer. I contributed for magazines, for newspapers. I became a graphic artist, a video editor. I just am like side gig upon side gig, whatever side gig I could get. I would learn that software and then just do it. And now I'm a CEO and co-founder of 2XU Executive Services. It's an outsourcing agency here in Cebu City. And we're basically, I flipped. I became the employee and now I'm the employer for, like I said, 2XU. It's now the business that I started it's my baby. So again, for tonight, I would really love, if for you mommies who have never watched any of my webinars before, I always teach Teachability Index. So this is whenever you're trying to learn literally anything, you're learning a new software, you're learning a new skill, there's an actual formula that you can follow so that you can succeed, so that you can actually learn what it is that you're supposed to be learning. So it's a combo of the willingness to learn and willingness to take action. These are an equal to success. This is a formula to success. So you have to be willing to, of course, learn, which if you're watching this right now, you're probably willing to learn. And you have to be willing to actually take action, to actually do the thing after you learn it. So you can see it's actually a multiplicative effect. It's a multiplier. So if you are right now 5 on learning and you're 5 on action, you're 25. But if you're a 10 on learning, you're ready to listen, you're ready to learn, you're taking notes, but you're not willing to take action, you're still a 0. You're still not going to be successful in that thing that you're trying to learn. But if a 10 on learning, 10 on action, you get 100%. So before that, I want to ask who here is a 10 on 10? Who is ready to learn about soft skills? Who is ready to learn all about how to just this is a combo of how to be more confident, how to become a leader. That's the very cusp of it. It's basically soft skills training is how to become a leader. So anyone here, 10 out of 10 when it comes to this for the topic that we have tonight. I want to know, so let me know inside of the comments. And I'm seeing a bunch of people still coming in. So thank you so much for coming in and watching. Again, I'm super excited to be talking about all of this with you tonight. So to get started, I'm hoping you're at 10 out of 10. This is what usually we think of when it comes to character versus skills. It's always character over skills. It's always who you bring to the table instead of what you bring to the table. Because in reality, your character, you can have that in literally any job. In any job position that you land on, you bring your character. When it comes to skills, it's usually for a specific job. So if you think about it, if you learn soft skills, if you learn how to develop your character, develop your own strength, you can apply that to whatever job that you go into, whether that's, something as starter as, becoming just virtual assistant doing admin tasks, or someone as complex as actually doing like running your own business. So you can bring your character to any job. Does anyone agree with that? Do you, especially for the mommies out there who are raising amazing kids, do you agree that it's character over skills, right? I'm checking the comments a little bit. If anyone agrees on that it's character over skills, because again, you can apply your character to any job. Your skills is mostly to be a specific job, and you have to keep updating it even. But when you have good character, you can apply that to everywhere. So I'm seeing a few mommies say agree. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Okay. So to be clear, because I'll be discussing about 10 soft skills, the major soft skill today. I'm going to be discussing 10, but you don't have to have all of these soft skills. You can just focus on one and start developing the other, because usually they're really interconnected. It's really interesting to find how all of these soft skills are actually interconnected once you start practicing them, once you're actually aware of them. Because some of these soft skills you might already be a master of. Some of these soft skills you might already be an awesome person at. You just didn't know that it was a kind of soft skill. So that's what I'm hoping to cover tonight, to teach you all tonight, is these soft skills, just so at the back of your head, you know what they are, you know what you could, again, who you're bringing to the table, and not just what you're bringing to the table. Okay, so why is character important for getting a job? So for me, I've been CEO for the last 5 years. So I have seen hired, let go, or sustain someone in the company I've seen around 300 to 500 resumes in my life, and I've probably let go, I'm not sure how many. I'm not going to say that number probably, but it's always the same. It always goes back down the same. I rarely let go of people who it's because of their skill. I usually let go of people because of their character. And you will probably find a lot of hiring managers, a lot of managers, a lot of bosses are the same way, is that we usually sustain people if they have a good character, even though they don't have a skill. So that's one of the reasons why character is important for getting a job. And also, you can learn skills easily. Character, your soft skills, is something that is developed throughout life. It's not something that you're going to be learning right away in just this hour or hour and a half that we're going to be learning together tonight. But it's something that you practice. It's something that you keep working on. It's something that sometimes you might forget. That's why I'm hoping that tonight will be a reminder for a lot of you mommies, a lot of you titas and ates out there who probably forgot that this was a kind of soft skill. So that's one of the reasons why character is important for getting a job. Another reason is, again, you can be the most skilled applicant, but if you don't have the right attitude, you're not getting hired. I already said this earlier, where most of the time for our company, we're an outsourcing company, so everyone works from home already, even before all the lockdowns happened. We've already been hiring remotely, but a lot of the time, a lot of employers will focus on skill a lot, but for the long run, for the long term, for people who have hiring long term, it's actually the character that we look at. Because if you could be skilled, but if you don't have the right attitude, you're not going to get hired. If you're someone who can create, you're a Picasso, a graphic artist, you can make really beautiful graphics, but you're impatient, you get mad really easily, or you don't have the right communication skills, no one is going to consider you to be their person, their graphic artist, because you're going to be difficult to work with. And for a lot of people, that's not worth it. So that's a big thing that you have to keep in mind, is again, you could be the person who's like a level on a 1 to 10 level. You're the 10 on writing, you're 10 on marketing, you're like someone who can make people billions of money every month. But if you don't have the right character, if you don't have the right just mindset on things, you're going to be let go really fast. Next thing is then skills can always be outdated. And if you're in marketing, this is so relevant. There's so many changes in the last 5 years that I've been in marketing. That things are always changing, things are always shifting, people's attention is always shifting. But being someone who has a good character never goes out of demand. Because of course, if you are someone who, again, comparing two things, if you're someone who has 5,000 likes on your Facebook page. So you're really good at marketing. You're really good at putting yourself out there, but you have a lot of 1-star reviews or 2-star reviews on your Facebook page. I would trust a person who has just 500 or 1,000 likes on their Facebook page, who has 5-star reviews, who has a lot of recommendations from different people telling them about the character, not even the results that they brought to the table, but about the person that they are. So that's a major thing to keep in mind when it comes to your soft skills, of why you should develop your soft skills. Because again, I've been in marketing for the last 5 years, and even those short 5 years that I've been in it, things have shifted so fast. But people who have a growth mindset, people who knows to be flexible, I'm going to talk about those skills in a little bit, last longer, last better than people who are just quick to quit, quick to just give up. So, like I said, I'm going to be discussing the top 10 soft skills that you need to have to get long-term clients. You want to think, of course, long-term. You want clients who already trust you, who already like you, who already know how to work with you, so they keep coming back, or they work with you for the long run. For me, that's always my target when I'm working with different clients before I have this company. Is always looking for people who can work with long-term, because then you're not in that awkward stage of building a relationship. You already know how things work. You're not always in a learning curve. You have long-term clients, and this is the fastest way. And again, this is not just for working from home. You can apply this if you start your own business, if you start your own agency. So this is what I'm hoping that a lot of you will get inspired, will get motivated to keep going, even if you're just starting out working from home, that you get motivated to have these soft skills. So later on, you could be a manager, a leader, and again, eventually starting your own business. So first thing is written and voice communication skills. You probably already know about these. So I'm going to, of course, cover the basics of what they are. So on written and voice communication skills, what are the uses? Why do you need to learn communication skills? So one is doing video calls, as easy as doing video calls. Even when you're doing an interview, even if you are teaching someone something over Zoom or over Skype, no one really uses Skype anymore, but I just knew someone who recently, I just had a call this week using Skype. But basically, when you're doing video calls, having communication skills where you can speak your mind clearly, where you can explain your side clearly, will avoid miscommunications, will avoid headaches later on. So that's one of the places, or one of the reasons why you should have good written and voice communication skills. Of course, doing presentations just like this one, doing presentations where you're giving out a report, where you are showing your client what you've done, with how you've helped them. Another one is writing reports. So when you're writing out reports, when you're giving someone like, okay, this is what happened this week, this is where we went up in the business, went down in the business, you have to be clear. You have to let them know where the gaps are, where they can be improved, and of course, what are the wins? Where did we succeed this week? So these are parts of what you can do with good written and voice communication skills. Of course, writing emails, public speaking. For a lot of you, I know a lot of you mommies, titas, and ates out there want to become a public speaker. So this is definitely something where you can insert that skill into. Of course, negotiation for those who want to ask for a raise, want to ask for a promotion, want to ask for a different position in the company. This is definitely something that you can apply with. And of course, delegating and monitoring tasks. Eventually, as you start becoming leaders, as you start becoming managers, you need to have good written and voice communication skills. So you're able to communicate better, to make sure that, if you give someone task A, they don't do task C. Just making sure that doesn't happen. And of course, monitoring their progress and eventually kind of motivating them themselves to make sure that things get done without much of your supervision. And of course, conflict resolution. That's if you have good just talking skills of making sure that both sides get heard, or there's a solution that's out of the box, that those actually get discussed. Someone says that they lost my audio. Hopefully not. That things actually are clear for them. So that is why written and voice communication skills are important. So how do you actually now improve your written and voice communication skills? So first thing is listen. It's weird to think of it that way, but that's one of the best things to become a better communicator, both written and on audio, is just to listen. Is to listen to people when they're talking, is to listen when people are presenting something, because then there's better clarity between both of you. Because when you're communicating, especially if you're listening to someone and both of you have an endpoint, you have a point to make, then it's better to listen to both sides. Because a lot of the time when we're listening to someone, whether that's during a presentation or doing a video call, we're sometimes listening just to speak, which of course creates, again, a lot of miscommunication, a lot of people not knowing what actually happened or if everything's okay. So that's why listening is really important. And again, having clarity, communicate with an endpoint. I usually give this advice also when you're doing an interview, is always when you're talking about something, when you're answering an interview question, have an endpoint. Imagine yourself that you have, nucleus, or you have a sun, and you're just going around that so you can go back to it. So it's not too scattered, you're not too scared. You know that you have a point to answering the question. And another reason why you should listen is you repeating back what someone else said. It's making sure that people feel heard. It's actually part of having really good communication skills, is having the other person feel heard. Try to remember any leader, any manager that you've had in your life, and try to remember if they were a good listener. Try if any of your favorite managers or even favorite teachers in school, try to remember if they were the kind of person who would actually listen to you, who would say, okay, so this is what I understood from what you said. This is blah, 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 blah. So they're giving you that clarity. Try to remember anyone in your life who's done that. Doesn't that feel good? Doesn't that feel good when you feel heard, when someone actually repeats back what you meant? So that's why it's really important that you repeat back what people said, just to get that clarity, just to make sure that they feel that they got their point across. And of course, this is a really good tip, especially for a lot of the mamicitas and ates out there who are going into virtual assistants, is when you're wrapping up meetings with your boss, or if you're creating the minutes of the meeting, wrap up meetings with a check on to-dos. Have an agreed upon, like, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what you're doing, this is for our next meeting, this is what we need to figure out. So again, it's having that clarity, it's having that clear boundaries also of making sure other people know what they're supposed to be doing. So that's why it's really important to do it that way. Okay, so I'm gonna check. So last thing, by the way, to have better written and voice communication skills or spoken communication skills is to join Toastmasters. If you have a local Toastmasters in your area and they're doing digital Toastmaster meetings right away, join it, trying to get into it. For me, I started working on my spoken communication skills with Toastmasters. If you can believe it, just literally a year ago, I was too shy to get on a camera. I was too shy to do public speaking, even though I already had experience before, because it is scary. But then you get better, you learn, you find other mentors that you can go and be inspired from. So I want to ask really quickly, who here wants to improve their written and voice communication skills? I would love to know. And if you have any questions about it, please do let me know. But these are my top tips. If this is a skill that you want to work on, if this is a skill that is something that you know that yourself is a weakness or even a strength, and you just want to keep getting better. So let me know in the comments below, because I love to know. Oh, and yeah. And last is, I already said this a lot, is just practice. As much as possible, practice your whichever it is that you're trying to focus on, whether it's the written or the voice communication skills. The way that I got really good at speaking in English, at doing presentations, is I actually did one video a day for 3 months. It's still up all on my Facebook. But basically, did one video a day, and I ended up with 120 videos, 110 videos on my Facebook. And then that's how I got better with video. And then now I have my YouTube channel. And then that's where I now practice as well. So it's always practice. It's always getting feedback. It's always, finding other people who say like, hey, you can do this better. So I'm seeing a bunch of mommies who say, me, wanting to improve it. That's awesome. Okay. Also, last thing on this before I move to the next one, it is sadly one of the usually weakest points that a lot of people have. So don't feel bad if you are not natural at this. Like I said, I was not a natural at this. I worked on it for, again, 3 months on getting better at, being a communicator. So don't sweat about it. Don't feel bad about it. It's something that you do get better on. It's something that you just work on yourself, and eventually you'll get to the point where you can do a presentation without much practice and just get on it. We'll see. Those are my presentations. So you get hopefully to that point. Okay, so next one is time management skills. Now, you might be very familiar with this one, especially if you're working from home, because when it comes to working from home, you are managing your own time, especially if your client doesn't really care when you work as long as work gets done. So where do you use your time management skills? So the first place is to just become an effective employee. Like I said, these are one of the first things that you kind of have to crash learn when you're working from home is your time management skills, because you are now in charge of your own hours. You are not leaving the house to go to an office from 8 o'clock, go home at 5 o'clock. You are someone who can work whenever and wherever. You can work on your bed. You can work on your sala. You can work while you're cooking your breakfast. So it's really up to you. So having good time management skills help you become an effective employee. Next thing is then, of course, it trains you to be a manager. It trains you to become a person who is efficient about their time, and at the same time, you know where to spend it, like what to actually focus on to be able to grow, to be able to help out your team. And then it helps out with prioritizing projects, especially if you're working with multiple clients at the same time. And I know some of you are here. Having good time management skills help you, of course, with that, of making sure that nothing falls through the cracks, making sure that things, again, actually get done. And again, you're not forgetting anything. Everything is written down and you know when you're going to work on it. And of course, naturally, handling deadlines is going to be easier if you have good time management skills. It's definitely something that as you get better and better at it, you can probably, like for me, I remember when I used to record my videos. This was when I was starting out, the day before I was supposed to upload them. And now that I've been getting better at my own time management skills, I record them like 4 days before, 5 days before. So I have enough time to get it edited. So as you, again, learn more skills, as you learn new things, your time management skills, when you have good time management skills, you can easily snap them of like, oh, I need this much time to finish this project. And of course, develops discipline. It makes sure that you don't procrastinate as much. You don't watch too much Netflix. And of course, it helps you just get on track, just to keep in mind what your goals are, what you're supposed to be doing, and of course, do it. So how do you actually get better at your time management skills? So the first thing is work in time blocks. So this is something that I already actually teach to a lot of my own students and clients, is when you're creating your habits, when it comes to working from home, you work in time blocks. So what are time blocks? So if you're working with, especially if you're working with different clients, you want to put them in categories. You want to put them in time blocks of when you're going to be working on them instead of multitasking, because I used to think that I was a really good multitasker, but I found out that multitasking actually does not exist. It's actually not real. It's actually you just jumping. It's called task switching. It's not multitasking, it's task switching. So when you do that, you are actually losing, I forget how many minutes exactly. I think it's 7 minutes. When you switch from one project to another. It takes you actually full 7 minutes. So every time you're doing multitasking, you're thinking that you're multitasking, you're actually losing 7 minutes of your smart brain when you do that. So that's why I recommend that you work in time blocks. You block out, okay, for this 1 hour, I'm just going to be working on this project. For this next hour, I'm just going to be working on this, instead of, again, making yourself really, really tired of switching in a lot of different ways. You just work on time blocks so your brain doesn't lose that 7 minutes that it does have when it's working on a certain project. So just keep that in mind. Next is to reassess projects every week. Try to look at the projects that you're currently working on and see if they do need this much time to work on, or if they're on a deadline, or if you need to put more time on this. Of course, that's essential when you're doing time blocks, is making sure that you're spending the right time with the right projects every week. And then reassess tasks every week. So of course, within a project, you have tasks, right? You have like daily tasks, weekly tasks, any recurring tasks that you have. You want to look at them if they're still worth doing, or if there's something that could be later automated, which means, of course, documenting it so other people can do it. It's making sure that it's still worth it. If it's still either making money, or it's just, something to pass the time, you want to reassess those tasks every week. And of course, you want to document the things that you've accomplished. To be able to manage your time better, you need to document and, again, know if something is already done. Make sure that you are looking at it of, okay, I was able to finish this project in an hour instead of the allocated 2 hours. It's looking at that. It's making sure that you celebrate your wins whenever you can. And that's something that I super recommend, because then it's easier for you to keep in mind that you're never starting from scratch, that you are not really starting from nothing. You already have wins. You already have within yourself awesome parts about yourself. So you want to document the things you've accomplished. And of course, prioritize projects based on what you need to do and what you shouldn't be doing. So I already said this a little bit when it comes to assessing your projects and tasks, but you also have to look at the tasks or projects that you shouldn't be doing, that you shouldn't be focusing on. So just keep that in mind, that it's not your not to-do list is just as important as your to-do list. Keep that in mind. Your not to-do list is as important as your to-do list. So as much as possible, if you are looking at tasks, if you're looking at projects, assess them as often as you can. Again, to see if they're worth doing, because that, of course, takes up your time. That takes up your mental energy when you're focusing on things that you shouldn't be focusing on anymore. I have a question from Nina that I'm going to answer really quick, is what if you can do the tasks, but you can't do it fast? Any tips? That's why you want to test out your time blocking skills to see if it's worth, an hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes to do the task. Because then once you keep doing one, especially if it's a repetitive task or it's a process that you do every week, every day, you get to learn how fast you can do it, how easy it is. So I can't really give a tip on how to do it faster, especially if I don't know what the task is. But if you are able to record yourself, okay, this is how long this task took me, you are now moving forward. You can keep in mind of how that usually takes you, so then you can block it in that way. I hope that helps, Nina. Okay. Again, let me know if there's any questions at all. If there's anything that I might be going too fast on or wasn't clear about, let me know in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Okay, so next. Oh, yes, I almost forgot about this. It's a good thing it's on my slides. So there's something called the Eisenhower Matrix. So the Eisenhower Matrix is a way that you can organize your tasks so you know what are things that you should do right away and what are things to eliminate. So you can see it's a quadrant. And there's like important, not important, urgent, and not urgent tasks. So like I said, this is a way for you to organize all of your tasks in one place. So for example, for tasks that are urgent, that's why you want to look at the deadline of how fast or urgent you need to do them. And if they're important, these are the due. So these are the things that you should do right away. Don't delay, especially if they're, again, urgent. And then the second quadrant is not urgent. So any tasks that take some time, the deadline isn't until a month later, you want to plan them. You want to plan of when you actually want to work on this. You want to plan what are the tasks, if it's not clear yet, what are the tasks that need to be done. So it doesn't have to become urgent. It's still in the not urgent. You've done it, it's done. You're just thinking of ways maybe to improve it or to make it better. And third quadrant is urgent but not important. So this one is very interesting, especially if you don't have, you're not a manager yet, or you don't have anyone to help you yet. But this is where you usually delegate. So urgent and not important means these are tasks that need to be done, but not by you. So these are tasks that, for example, like for me, sometimes my urgent but not important tasks, at least for me, is like paying bills. They're urgent, but I can't do them because someone else can do them for me. So those are the tasks that I delegate. So you want to keep assessing your task anytime that you can. And then the last quadrant is not important or not urgent. These ones are really interesting because these are usually the tasks that we keep forgetting to do, or has been on our to-do list forever, or it just doesn't make sense that it's still there, but we keep moving it out anyway. We keep saying, oh, I'll do it that on Saturday. Oh, I'll do it next Saturday. I'll do it on Wednesday. For sure, I'll do it tomorrow. Those are those tasks. And you probably, high chances are, I also still have them also. That's why I have to assess my tasks every time of looking at them of like, do I really need to do this? Can I move it to quadrant 2 or quadrant 3 at least? Because those are the tasks that you shouldn't be doing anymore. Next, before I move to the next, this makes sense. This is Eisenhower Matrix. If this is your first time walking across it, going through across it, this whole matrix makes sense for you. This is hopefully help you the next time that you are facing a really big project that you have a lot of tasks to do. Does this make sense? Let me know in the comments below. Again, I really love to keep interacting with you, to keep talking to you, mommies, titas, and ates here. By the way, I keep saying that because I'm not a mommy myself. I'm an ate. I don't have a kid. And I'm not technically a tita yet because I'm the eldest and my siblings does not have any kids. So that's why I'm on the virtual ate. Anyway, but yeah. Let me know again in the comments if this makes sense, if this helps you moving forward with it when it comes to your time management skills. Okay, next is then creativity skills. So creativity skills it's pretty straightforward. It's basically not just art. It's not just creating content. It's thinking outside the box when it comes to when you come across problems, when you come across things that you have never come across before. It's making sure that it's thinking that there's always a way out of it. There's always another way of thinking about it. So what are the uses for creativity skills? First thing is, of course, to create products from scratch. To be able to have good creativity skills, you need to be able to be someone who looks at problems and thinks of a solution for them so you can create that product from scratch. Next is, like I said, it's to find shortcuts to help finish tasks faster. Any tasks that has been, again, on your to-do list forever, and because of the Eisenhower Matrix, you say, oh, I should get on that. You're trying to find shortcuts to help get those done faster. And I guess, of course, it keeps you learning for life because when you're creative, you're always asking what or why. You're always looking at things of like, why should we doing that? Or what can we do about that? Or even how are we going to solve this problem? So how do you actually have creative skills? How do you improve your creativity skills if this is something that you want to work on? So the first thing is look at how others do it. Find mentors. I have been basically an online career coach for about a year now. And it's always surprises me how people don't research or don't make Google their best friend. So let me know in the comments if Google is your best friend or you're going to make Google now your best friend. But there are so many people out there who have gone through and succeeded on the thing that you're having trouble with right now. You will be surprised by how many people have shared their stories of how they succeeded on a certain task or problem that you're currently having that you can just study and read about or watch a YouTube video on, and they've solved it and they just give you the solution. So if you're trying to be more creative, if you're trying to be more of a person who's constantly learning, find mentors that you can learn from. Find mentors who can give you tips, can give you those shortcuts, so then you don't have to make the same mistakes that they did. So that's why having mentors is super important, especially as you're developing any of these soft skills that I'm going to be talking about tonight. Next is, of course, you have to be open to other possibilities. To be creative, again, it's all about thinking outside of the box. It's all about knowing that there's another way to do this. It's knowing that there's another way to think or to say this. So having creativity skills is just being open that there's things that you don't know. It's basically that. It's because, of course, there's a bajillion things that you and I don't know. Then we have to open to be other possibilities that are out there. We're not the only species on Earth. We're not even maybe the only species in the universe. Maybe we're not sure. So you have to be open to those other possibilities. So then it opens up your brain into thinking of other ways to do things. And of course, experiment on what you're doing to see if there's a better way. Try to always, it basically goes to challenging yourself. It goes to making sure that you are always, again, Google has so many tips for you guys because there's so many people who have documented what they do. And when it comes to experimenting on what you're doing to see if there's a better way, you can look at what other people are doing and seeing if that's something that could be applied to you, if that's something that you can do yourself as well. So when it comes to experimenting, it's, again, thinking outside the box. It's seeing what else you can do. And of course, it's making sure that you're not just stuck. You're not in just your comfort zone. Being creative is going out of your comfort zone. And find the fun. This is a really good tip if you've never heard of it, is find the fun in things. To be creative, it's finding something good about things. It's finding something that you can, it's for some people they call it gamifying, when you're turning something that's actually a challenge into a game. After I do this task, I'm going to get this, or if I'm able to figure out how to solve this problem, I'm going to get myself a Krispy Kreme donut. So find the fun, find some way to twist it around to not just focus on the problem, because that's where you're going to end up getting stuck. So anyone here who is interested in upping their creativity skills, let me know in the comments below. And again, if you have any questions on creativity skills, do let me know as well. And yeah, so this is the last. I keep forgetting I have a last one, so I apologize. But basically 5 is choose the content that you consume. So when it comes to upping your creativity skills, it's also what you put in is the things that you can put out. So if you read a lot of romance novels, your brain is going to be thinking in romance way. If you're consuming a lot of nonfiction on how to start a business, your brain will start thinking of ways to start a business. So that's a natural thing that keeps happening. So you have to choose the content that you consume. Honestly, for me, I stopped watching the news, and this is weird for me to say because I was a journalist. I stopped consuming news, especially lately, because then all I was thinking about was just what was happening with the world, with the Philippines. So I had to switch the content that I was consuming. So I've been focusing on more growth content, on how to grow my YouTube channel, how to grow my branding. So that's where I've been focusing on. And of course, those are the things that I can talk about. So you have to really choose what you consume, choose what you put into your own brain, which of course next takes us to problem solving skills. So of course, naturally, what are the uses for problem solving skills? It helps you figure things out on your own. So one of the big shift, I'll call it a culture shift that I see a lot when people are switching from a physical job to an online job, especially since I've hired like nurses, I've hired call center agents, I've hired engineers who wanted to switch to working from home. This is a culture shock that they get a lot, is basically being more autonomous. It's being more independent. It's not having a boss who looks over your shoulder to make sure that you're finishing the task that was given to you an hour ago. So when you have good problem solving skills, it becomes easier for you to have that kind of mindset that you're now independent, that you have to figure this out your own, so then you can learn better, you can do this better next time. So that's one of the uses of having good problem solving skills. Another use for it is for us to easily create solutions to problems that come up a lot. And a lot of the time when you're going into a company and you're the newbie, you probably spot a few problems that come up within a company constantly, and no one is really trying to solve it. So when you have really good problem solving skills, you'll be able to identify them and of course solve it, make it easier for the rest of the people that you're working with. Make their lives easier. And of course, it enables you to take control of the situation. If you have really good problem solving skills, you're not one of the people who's panicking. You're one of the people who's taking control of like, okay, this is what we're gonna doing. going to be doing. This is the thing that we're going to be solving today. So it enables you to have that sense of, okay, we're now in this mode. I'm going to help you guys out. It's not, if your whole house, God forbid, if your whole house was on fire, if you have really good problem solving skills, you're going to be able to solve the situation in front of you. Grab your things, grab your kids, make sure they're taken care of instead of panicking. So that's a lot of the benefits of when you have good problem solving skills. So what are the tips? How do you actually have really good problem solving skills? So the first thing, and I know this is really hard for a lot of people to think about, is to not complain. Now, what do I mean by don't complain? So it's not that you're going to mention, it's not avoiding negative things. It's not avoiding negative situations. It is thinking about these situations and then trying to solve them. So that's what I think about when I listen to the word, well, when I hear the word complaining, is you are just stating a problem without the purpose of solving them. So if you are someone who wants to get better with their problem solving skills, you have to stop complaining. You have to stop simply stating your problem, but you have to start moving towards the actual solution for it. So that's the first thing that really needs to be done if you are someone who wants to have better problem solving skills. It's not just complaining, it's working towards a solution. And then when you spot the solution, spot a problem, you want to approach your boss with the solution and not a problem. So this is a way of, there's a book. It's basically, for some reason I'm forgetting the title of the book right now, but basically it's all about complaining. I'm trying to remember the title of it. And if I do remember, I'll make sure to comment it below. But basically, it's thinking of the way that you have to talk to your waiter. If you have a problem, you talk to a waiter. You talk to a person who can solve the problem. So, for example, let's say you are at a coffee shop and you get really bad coffee. They put sugar in it. They put milk when you ask them not to. You don't complain to the person in front of you, the person you're having the coffee date with, that you have this problem. You talk to your waiter, right? That's the natural thing. Like, hey, I said no milk. I said no sugar. So you are already approaching them with the solution of like, hey, don't put sugar on this. I asked for no sugar. So the same thing happens when you're working from home, working a physical job, is you want to approach your boss, that's your waiter, with a solution and not a problem. Because if you're just stating to them a problem, you're going to be seen as a person who just complains a lot. You're just going to be seen as a person who just spots problems and don't have the intention of helping them solve it. So especially if it's something that affects you and affects the business, you just approach them with the solution and not a problem. And then, again, I already said this, learn the habit of researching, learn the habit of having Google being your best friend. So many times I will have friends asking me for facts that I don't know. And they know that I'll just pull out my phone and I'll just researching them on just Google. Because there's a lot of people who have already gone through and succeeded, went through the other side of the thing that you're currently struggling with. So chances are there's going to be someone who will help you solve that problem. So again, learn the habit of researching. And of course, learn to pause. So with this, a lot of the time, especially if it's something big, it's a big problem that you're facing, we try to take action right away without having to actually look at the problem objectively, without having to look at what it is that we're looking at, what it is that we're trying to solve and do. And then there's just power between the pause, between looking at something from a different point of view and making sure that you're actually going into it with wholeheartedly with who you are. And of course, respond versus react. So when you react, and a lot of you probably will relate to this, when you react, it's when you scream at your friend because she got you the wrong thing, or when you cry right away because something just happened, or when you get it's when you don't even think about it and you just react to something that happened in front of you. When you respond, you are pausing. You are choosing what to say. You are choosing what to do. You're thinking things through before you actually do it. So that's the difference between responding versus reacting. You have to learn how to respond to things instead of simply reacting to them. You have to learn that's why I put pause first. You have to learn how to pause, so then you can again respond to a problem rather than right away putting emotion into it, putting anger or sadness or whatever other emotion into it. You're responding. And of course, take action. You can't just keep planning how to solve a problem without actually taking action. So that's why you have to keep that in mind, that it's not, you could spend 6 months planning the perfect solution, but if you don't take one day to actually put it into action, it's going to be wasted 6 months. So keep that in mind. Okay, so before I go into the next one, which is teamwork, any mommies, titas, or atas here who want to have their problem-solving skills, who want to have good problem-solving skills. And I'm going to look at if anyone has any questions, let me know, and I'll go through them right now. Okay. Ooh, hi to everyone who's watching. Okay, so interesting. Can you please kindly give more example about number 2? So I'm guessing it's approach your boss with a solution, not a problem. So let's say you have a problem with a client. So let's say you have a client who basically did not, as an example, who did not read the contract that they have to do this for you to be able to give fulfillment, as an example. Then your solution, you'll think about like, okay, I'll let my boss know about this situation. The solution is to just have a call with the client and go through every part of the contract so everything is clear, and asking for that clarity. Again, goes back to communication skills. And then just going to your boss of like, hey, I am having this problem with this client. It seems like he or she did not really understand what was in the contract, and it's now causing problems with fulfillment. So would it be okay? Would it make sense if I had a call with him or her, or if you're too shy, or can I ask you to have a call with him or her to make sure that they actually understand this part of the contract? So you're approaching the boss not head first with the problem, but you already have the solution. Because when you do that, you're actually thinking leadership level. You're actually thinking another level than most people would. And of course, your boss will appreciate that. It makes things faster and smoother. Plus, on the other side of it, you know the problem more than anyone else. So even if, let's say you took 15 minutes thinking of the problem and the solution, it took you 15 minutes to get to the solution because you know the whole story, versus if you gave that to your boss and he has no context about what the problem is, then it's going to take them longer. So it's always better that you start with yourself, with where you're at. Hopefully that helps. Pauline, let me know in the comments below. Yeah. Okay, we have Mia says, I always lost my composure when I really have to solve a problem right away. That's why you really have to keep in mind that you have to pause. You have to take that pause. Even when, again, it's an urgent problem, it's something you have to do right away, you have to keep in mind to respond instead of reacting, because it's when you react that you make a ton of mistakes. It's when you react that you actually don't think things through and things get forgotten or skipped. So just keep that in mind. Hopefully that helps me. Okay, so next thing, and you already saw it, is teamwork skills. So of course, teamwork skills is being able to work with different kinds of people you probably have never met in person because you're working from home. So how do you actually develop these teamwork skills? So what are the uses? First, of course, it's easier to work with other people. It's easier to hit company goals. Those are the two main ones. And it's basically when you have really good teamwork skills, it's easier for you to get project across. It's easier for you to get your point across with people, of course. And it's easier for you to just make sure that everyone is on the same side. Everyone is on the same, clarity of knowing what to do next. And there's no headaches. There's less drama. There's less, I don't want to work with her, she's too hard. It's less of that. It's making sure that there is some sort of sync with you and the people that you work with. So how do you actually improve your teamwork skills? So first thing is get to know your team. Get to know the people that you work with beyond their employee numbers, beyond their first names, beyond their last names. Actually get to know them, because keeping in mind, they're a human being just like you. They have a life outside of this job. They probably also have kids. They probably also have problems of their own. So when you get to know them, you are easily able to. Okay, so let's example that you have a coworker named Arthur, and Arthur, usually jolly guy, awesome, gets things done right away. But all of a sudden, Arthur comes in the office and he's grumpy and he's slower and he's on his phone going through Facebook, or he's late to meetings when he's usually on time. When you get to know your team, you get to know that Arthur was actually having problems with his wife. You get to find out to how to be able to manage it, how to help him out of it, instead of saying, "Oh, Arthur's a bad employee." I don't think he should be trusted with anything. So that's why you want to get to know your team, so you can be more considerate, because no one's perfect. You're not perfect. You will have bad days. You know how it feels to have bad days. So when you get to know your team, you get to think, have creativity skills. You get to think outside the box of how you can be able to help them, and how to make sure that if it's something that they don't want other people knowing about, if they're having a problem that they don't want other people knowing, that you can keep it, that they trust you that you're going to keep it, but then you're going to help them anyways. Next is have clarity and boundaries with tasks. So this relates to communication skills earlier. When it comes to wrapping up meetings with to-do lists, is making sure that it's clear to everyone what needs to be done by who and when. When that happens, when you have that clarity between your teammates, it's so much easier for you guys to get the work done, because you know who's responsible for it, and who needs to have the self-responsibility to get it done. And they also know that they can approach you or other people on the team for help, because like, hey, how I'm in charge of this project. I'm really struggling with it. Can you help me out? I know you're busy with things. It gives you that, that more getting to know of them, not just a coworker, not just as another employee, but also as a human being. So having clarity and boundaries with tasks of, again, who gets to do what, but then being open to exchanging of solutions or problems helps build that teamwork rapport. Next is to ask and give feedback. So whenever you are leading a team, for example, and this is super important, is to try to ask feedback from them of how you can do better, and learn also how to give feedback more effectively, not just harsh criticism, not just, oh, you needed to know this, or I'm just telling you this as your manager. It's actually giving them effective feedback that they will take to heart, that they will now learn to do better next time. And I actually have a book that I recommend for this. It's called The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard. I have a copy, but it's there, so I've not been able to grab it. But it's basically a book. It's like a 30-minute read. It's also written as a story style, but it gives you how to give people feedback and how to ask feedback as well. And I really highly, highly recommend that, whether or not you're a manager. Next is asking your teammates, how can I help? Especially if you finish the task really quickly, especially if you're teaching someone else a task or a process or a system, asking them simply, how can I help you, will, of course, help them. And of course, make you just seem more approachable, make you seem the person that they want to talk about. And of course, again, a lot of the time, and you probably already know how this feels, we come across a problem that we have no idea how to solve. We tried our problem solving skills, but it's as easy as someone asking like, hey, can I help you with anything? That breaks all of the walls. And when we get that perfect help, the perfect timing of like, hey, thank you so much for helping me out. And again, just be aware of people's lives outside of work. Again, they also have kids, they also have problems, they also have things that they go through. So just keep that in mind. Next is then adaptability skills. So what are the uses of being more adaptable? So the first thing is, the world can shift fast. Being able to shift with it is valuable. So you've probably all have gone through some sort of shift in the last 6 months, one way or the other, that you had to do. Because the world can shift that fast. We could be all going to the beach one day, traveling anywhere, and all of a sudden we can't go anywhere. So it can shift super fast, the way that the world has been going, and it's always been that way. It's not only now. For me, especially, I actually went through Typhoon Yolanda 8 years ago now. 7 years ago. And then I had to be adaptable. I had to learn really fast. I had to shift really fast. My hometown was wrecked. I'm originally from Tacloban City, and I had to adapt. I had to learn how to become flexible. I had to learn that I'm not going to going back to school as was originally planned. I have to take 3 months, quote unquote break, because there is no school. So having that, because it's not just now that the world is shifting. The world has always been shifting. So you have to be that kind of person who can adapt to things really fast. And then often you have to wear multiple hats. So this is something that happens a lot. And not really super talked about, which is weird because I've seen this happen too many times, where when you get a job, sometimes you have to wear multiple hats. You have to do tasks that are not related to you or not in your job description, but you have to do in order to get things done. So you have to keep that in mind, that you have to be adaptable. You really have to, and I'm going to say this later, you have to remove the words "it's not my job" from your vocabulary, because it will happen. Think again. For me, I have become a bookkeeper, a graphic artist, marketing assistant, or head of marketing, basically, a book editor in 1 week, because things shift really fast. Things really grow really fast. You have to keep that in mind. And you can only grow if you keep moving. If you're stagnant, if you're sitting in one place forever, you're not going to keep growing. But if you have really good adaptability skills, you're flexible, you can keep growing yourself. So how do you actually become, or how do you actually improve your adaptability skills? So the first thing is to keep being curious, is to it kind of relates to creativity skills. That's why I said you don't have to be a master of all 10. Just choose one, and slowly and surely you'll actually start learning the other kind of skills. But you have to keep being curious. You have to look at things as a 5-year-old, as a 4-year-old, or 6-year-old, where they're always asking why. Why is the tree green? Why is that worm moving that way? So you have to keep that curiosity, because that's the fastest way that you can adapt, because you're already asking, why did this change happen? How can I shift into this? How can I be better at this? So that's why being curious is the first thing that I really recommend if you want to be adaptable. And then know your worth, but put ego aside. I already said this, where the world can shift really fast, but if you are really adamant in being paid 100,000 pesos as an example. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but there will be times where you're going to be doing tasks. You're going to be handling projects that's kind of usually below what you're doing. But you have to keep that in mind, that to be adaptable, you know your worth, but you have to put your ego aside. Know your value. Never forget your value. But you have to sometimes put your ego aside when it comes to getting things done, when it comes to scaling things, when it comes to work, when it comes to life. A lot of time, it's kind of knowing that you're a strong, independent woman. You don't need no man, but you know that you have kids with a father who's loving, who's good to their kids. So it's knowing that it's making sure that you are someone who knows what you bring to the table, but that's not all that you are. That's not all that you can actually become. Next is try something new every quarter. I really highly recommend this one. It's making sure that you're always growing. You're always seeing other things. You're studying different courses. You're doing something that pushes you out of your comfort zone. So it's trying something new every quarter. So for me, the new thing that I did every quarter is I actually did one video a day this week for my YouTube channel. And that's something that I haven't done before, because it takes a lot of time, and I was right. But that was something new that I wanted to try this quarter, as this quarter was starting. So that is for me. So try to find what is something new that you want to do, next quarter or this quarter, just to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And of course, study and learn. Again, there's a ton of mentors. There's a ton of people out there who already have gone through what you're going through right now and come to the other side. So these are people that you can now study and learn from. And be persistent. Change the plan, not the goal. Again, change the plan, not the goal. If you are on the way to Siargao from Cebu City, if you're on the way to Siargao and then your flight get canceled, your goal is still Siargao, so you're gonna get on a boat to get there. So again, it's change the plan and not the goal. Keep in mind that you are going somewhere, and just because you keep getting rejections doesn't mean that you have to cancel all the goals together. Try to find another way to shift. Either you're shifting the goal a little bit better or a little bit lower, or anything. You're just changing the plan a little bit so you can still eventually get to the goal. And of course, be resourceful as much as possible. Look at other ways to do things. This connects again with your problem solving skills. That's why I keep saying this, where your problem solving skills and one skill from all 10 that I'm going to be mentioning tonight are interconnected. They will all keep making sense the more that you keep doing them. So being resourceful is knowing that there's always another way to do things, that there is always someone else that you can ask It's knowing that there's a tool or software that can make things faster. It's just keeping that in mind. Okay, so let me know in the comments if you have any questions about adaptability skills so I can go over them. Pauline asks, I will search that in Google. 1 Minute Manager. Yes, it's an ebook and a physical book. It's actually available in National Bookstore and sometimes National Bookstore, usually in Fully Booked. So because that's where I usually buy copies of them. So that's where you can find it. And yeah, it's available on Amazon and it is an ebook. Let me see if I have any questions. Jonaline asks, how do you deal with bosses who are so traditional and even if you're adaptable, they don't embrace change? That is being adaptable. You have to adapt to that kind of boss. You have to adapt on how to deal with them, how to be, someone who can work with them. So that's part of being adaptable, is adapting to having this kind of mindset for a few, or later on you might want to think of switching bosses and finding ones who sync better with you, because that the thing to keep in mind is you can be someone who's awesome, but if you don't work with someone who is kind of the same wavelength, you're kind of wasting your own time and your own value. So you just have to keep that in mind. But yeah, if you're dealing with a boss who is so traditional, even if you're adaptable, you have to adapt to them. You have to adapt to their personality and what they do. So yeah, I hope that answers your questions. Yeah, let me know again any questions on adaptability skills as I move forward, and I'll always keep going back to this because I can't always see your questions as they come up. I only go through them at the end of every part. Okay, next is self-confidence skills. How do you become more confident? So what are the uses? Of course, first thing is all other skills are easier to implement because you're confident that you can do them. You're confident that you can get it done. So it's easier to learn all of the other soft skills when you have this. You are also able to ask questions and put forth solutions to the team because you know your worth, you know your value, you know who you are. And then it's easier to gain that self-confidence to keep going. And you're also able to know, again, your worth and what you do. When you have self-confidence, you know what you bring to the table. You know that this is something that you can handle, and you are confident in yourself that you can get this done, or you'll ask for help also. And also being able to take initiative. Now, this is something that I have heard so many, I think that's wrong spelling for initiative. If it is, I am so sorry. I've seen so many bosses be sad when they have employees who are more robots than they are humans. What I mean by this is robots are people usually are yes people. We're just saying, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, I'll get this done for you. But if you're someone who has the self-confidence to take initiative, combining again problem solving skills and your adaptability skills, you are able to take initiative to put forth new things. So going back even to Jonaline's question of having a I clicked on the long one. Sorry. Having a traditional boss. If you're someone who's more self-confident, you can put forth other solutions. You could put forth other ways to think of different things. So that's why having self-confidence is super important. So now, how do you actually get better with your self-confidence skills? So the first thing is to have a goal. So I really highly recommend this. As much as possible, have a goal with your life. I usually call them big, hairy, audacious goals. If you've seen any of my YouTube videos, I've interviewed a bunch of FH moms on my YouTube channel. But basically, it goes back to what do you actually want in life? You can't be confident if you don't know what you want. You can't be confident if you don't know what you're aiming for. So that's why my first tip is always to have a goal, whatever that goal that looks like, whatever that means. But basically, try to imagine if you had all of the resources, if you had all of the power, if you had all of the money and people that you can, ask questions from, what would your goal be? If you had all the support, what would that goal be? Because again, it's easier to be more confident with yourself once you have that goal to keep in mind because you're moving towards something. Next is then know where else that you can contribute in the business. So this is one of the ways that you can earn your self-confidence, is trying to see where else in the business that you're working for or in your own business, where else you can improve, where else you can help out, because that helps. And anytime that you have a small win, no matter how small, and a win could be literally making sure things are documented, getting a new client, working on a new process or improving a process, gives you that small win and gives you that confidence to keep going, because that's the whole point of this, is for you just keep going, to be confident enough to stand up for yourself, to take initiative, and again, implement all of the other skills that I'm talking about tonight. And take rejections. So this is a little bit harder here, but you have to learn how to take rejections. You have to learn how to take it when someone says no to you, how to take it when someone does not reply to you or stops replying to you, especially if it's a client or a potential employer. You have to learn that, because these are one of the ways that you can get confident, is knowing that you can handle it when people say no, because there's going to be people who are perfect for you. There's going to be clients who will want to pay you the moment that you just send them even just your resume. But there's always also going to be people who are not going to be matched. There's also going to be people who won't like you. So just keep that in mind, that is one of the things that you have to face. And if you get to the point where you're actually used to rejections, it actually gives you a self-confidence boost, because you know that you can take it. You know your value. You know who you are. And speaking of knowing who you are, to become self-confident, you have to take care of yourself. You can't be confident about a camera that you have if it's marked, or you can't be confident about a new car that you have if it has scratches, if it's muddy, right? So the same thing with yourself. You have to take care of yourself so you know that you can be confident about yourself. If you are trying to be confident but you are actually sick, or you're weak, or you don't feel good about yourself, or you overslept so you're not actually feeling good, it's harder to be confident that way. So you have to really keep that in mind. Next is you need to know how to set personal boundaries. So when you're working from home, this is super important, because you're surrounded by people all the time, probably. So when it comes to personal boundaries, like for example, for me, outside of my door right now, I have a little sign that says that I am recording or I'm live. So people know not to knock on my door. People know to be quiet. People know not to bother me. So that's part of setting personal boundaries, is knowing that what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. That's what boundaries basically are. It's knowing that if they cross this line, they would break your trust. You're that's it. Or if they help you get out of it, then you trust them a little bit more. So it's setting those personal boundaries and making sure that people know about it, of course, not just setting it with yourself. And lastly, it's to make sure that you reflect often. Try to look back at things, look at other problems that you've solved before. Try to kind of really think about them, if it's still worth doing, if it's still worth moving forward with whatever it is that you have. Try to keep a journal, or try to rethink any of your goals. Like I recently even just redid my whole vision board right there. I actually did a YouTube video on that also. It's always reflecting. It's always seeing what else I can do better, how I can improve. So it's giving myself feedback, not just asking for feedback from others, but also giving myself feedback. Okay, so I'm just double checking that I don't have one more point. Okay, that was all my points. Because I keep forgetting I have one more point. Before we go to self-motivation skills, I'm going to look at if you have any questions. Mia asks, I'm having a really hard time sticking to my goals. Question is, what should I do to stick to my goals? So the first thing I usually try to give us a piece of advice when it comes to sticking to your goals is, what are the habits that you are doing to keep moving them forward, to keep moving whatever that goal is forward. So easiest example is fitness goals. So for example, for me, I have a goal to get to 55 kilos this year. Still, I'm still at the 60s, but I'm working on it. But the reason why I'm still on it is I have habits. So for me, I work out every day, or at least I try to work out every day. If I can't work out every day, I have to make sure that I'm doing 10 push-ups or 10 squats. So I have my own minimums to make sure that I'm still moving that goal forward. So for example, another example is, for me, my biggest goal is to have an agency in New York where all of the employees are working from home in the Philippines. That's my own ultimate goal. So the way that I've been able to stick to it is that I'm always looking at that. I'm always reminding myself at that goal. I drew myself right here. Let me switch. Right here behind me is a drawing of New York. I have pictures of New York everywhere to remind me of that goal. And also, I'm always looking at what are the skills that I would need if I was a person who's running an agency remotely. What would that need? So I would have to really have really good leadership skills. I would need to have really good negotiation skills, sales skills as well. So, and then I'm always moving towards it. I always have books with me, or I'm always studying one book or another, or a course or another, to move myself forward. So what are the habits that you're going to put daily, weekly, monthly, to make sure that you're on track with that goal? And hopefully that helps me, and let me know. But that's what I do to keep sticking to my own goals, no matter how small or big they are. Okay, so next is self-motivation skills. What is basically what self-motivation skills? How do you actually use them? So the uses are, first thing is to be able to easily handle ups and downs in life. It's being able to get yourself up in the morning even when you don't really want to. So a lot of the time, especially for those who have been working from home here for a longer time, there are days where you don't want to get up. There are days when your bed is too comfy, when there's too many other things that you could be doing. It could be going out to get groceries. It could be going out to making sure that things are taken care of outside of work. So some days are harder. It's harder for you to get into flow and working. But when you have self motivation skills, it's easier for you to handle those ups and downs. It's easier for you to know that this is the thing that you have to get done right now, and of course just less procrastination for you. And also it helps you become just self-sufficient. Again, when it comes to working from home, you're more autonomous, you're more independent. So when you have self-motivation skills to get up in the morning, to get your tasks done, to get your projects done, you're self-sufficient. And it helps you become more consistent. One of the fastest ways to build trust with an employer, with someone new, is to be consistent, is to be a person who they know that they can count on. So when you have self-motivation skills, you easily become that person who is consistent on, for example, for me, people know that to expect that I put out videos every week. So I'm always trying to be consistent. I've gone to the point where I'm now really consistent when posting my videos, but it took me time. But I had to have the self-motivation to know that I have to record, I have to edit, I have to start promoting, so people know to expect this. So that's how I've built out trust with other people. So again, fastest way to build out trust is to be consistent with your boss, with your co-workers, and that comes with having really good self-motivation skills. So how do you actually build up your self-motivation skills? So first thing is keep in mind your goals. That's why I mentioned this earlier, is to have a goal. Keep in mind your goals. Keep in mind what you are moving towards. I usually try to advise that if you're going to set a goal, make it bigger than any problem that you're going to go through. So for example, for me, in the last 5 years that I've been running a business, it's not been the easiest. It's not been the best. I've gone through ups and downs, but I have my goal in mind. I have my goal to start a New York agency, and that's put me through a lot of different things that I've gone through in my life. And I have to just keep in mind, just so I can keep going. And be aware of what you're feeding your brain. You have to be aware of the content you're consuming, of the Netflix shows that you're watching. Try to notice if after watching your favorite show, what it makes you feel. I recently discovered that I was rewatching one of my favorite series and it was actually making me feel bad after I watched it. So I stopped watching it. So you have to keep that in mind, because a lot of the times we feel emotions, but we just don't think about it. But it's actually making you feel sad. It's actually making you feel maybe angry sometimes. So you have to keep that in mind. Beware of what you're feeding your brain. Next is, of course, choose what you're spending your energy on. To be self-motivated, you have to choose if you're going to be obsessing about one thing or another, or you're going to take action. That's part of your self-motivation skills. Also, one thing to really keep in mind is a person only has limited, and I call this decision juice. Every day you have a limited decision juice. So every day, imagine when you wake up, you have this amount of decision juice. So whether you pick your clothes, if you're going to take a bath or not, if you're going to pick where you're going to go that day, or what you're going to cook, it goes down every day. So when you have really good self-motivation skills, you get to choose, you have the capability to choose what you spend your energy on, whether that's, again, just on picking your clothes, picking what you eat, or it's actually going to be on things that actually will help you towards your goals. So you probably will notice, like, a lot of really, like, Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, they have the same clothes every time, because that saves them decision juice. That saves them energy to not have to decide what they have to wear. That's actually part of it. And then only compare yourself with yourself. Please, 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 only compare yourself to yourself. it's really hard, but you have to only compare yourself with yourself, because if you keep comparing yourself to someone else, you will just end up hurting yourself. You will end up being demotivated, so not motivated. And then there's always something that the person they're trying to compare through is also going through. There's also a problem that they have to solve themselves to be able to be who they are. So just keep that in mind. It's hard to motivate yourself if you're always comparing yourself to someone else. So just keep that in mind. And of course, baby steps. keep baby steps, if as much as you can. Just take small steps with whichever skill that you choose today to work on. Just keep baby steps, just doing small steps, doing small practices, just to keep going, just to keep moving yourself towards that goal. So before I go to decision making, any questions on self-motivation, on how to keep yourself motivated, let me know in the comments below so I can cover them. I can help you out while I'm still here, as we go through the next parts of next other soft skills. I'm going to drink my water really quickly, because I just was reminded to do that, because I raised my water bottle and I haven't drank my water this whole time. Yeah. Again, let me know in the questions below if you have any questions for me on self-motivation skills. Next is decision-making skills. So again, they all really interconnect. All of these skills that I'm talking about all interconnect, but they have different factions. That's why I chose them. But this is basically having decision-making skills. The uses of them is help save time, money, increases self-confidence, again, going back to other skills, develops critical thinking skills, of course, and moves you forward easily to the next thing. So when you are, again, I already talked about this and I already spoiled you a little bit on decision juice, but every day you have a limited decision juice. So when you learn how to be a decision maker, when you learn how to have really good decision making skills, it saves you that juice. It saves you that energy to keep moving forward, to keep going, even when you don't want to. So these are the top uses of having really good decision making skills. And of course, if you have really good decision making skills, I'm so sorry. I think I drank too much water. But it takes away the emotions part. It takes away it helps you respond versus reacting when you have really good decision making skills. So you have to keep that in mind. So how do you actually develop your decision making skills? So first thing is to define the problem. Define what it is that you're actually facing. I'm sorry. Define what it is that actually is in front of you, so you can know what it is, so you can actually put a name on it instead of just trying to avoid it forever and ever, which of course, as you probably already know, grows the problem more. So define the problem, then ask for perspective from others. Again, as much as possible, there's already someone who probably already went through the thing that you are going through. So asking for perspective from others helps you just know what are the possibilities, what are the things that are in front of me, what are the different solutions that I can do, that I can take to be able to move this forward. And then you want to ask yourself, what else is possible outside of this? Keep in mind that there's literally an infinite possibilities in any situation that you have. There's different ways that I can say this to you right now. There's different examples that I could use right now, but I'm choosing these ones that I'm giving you. So you have to keep in mind what else is possible outside of this situation. What else can I do? What are the other tools that I can use? What other people that I can ask for help from? Because then that helps build that of creating that decision. Next is you want to evaluate those choices. Once you have those choices, once you have those solutions, you want to look at them of can I actually do this? Is this something applicable to me? Is this something that I can afford to do, whether that's monetary afford or time afford? So you want to look at all those. And then you want to take action. Again, you could spend 9 months problem solving, creating a plan, but if you don't take the 1 day to actually implement it, it's just going to be a plan. So keep in mind to take action as much as you can. And then iterate. So iterate, if you've never heard what iterate is basically looking at something and seeing if you can improve it, seeing if you can do another thing about it. It's in marketing, basically. It's, for example, let's say you've been using this is more SEO, but hopefully you'll be able to understand. You've been using the same SEO keyword this whole time because it keeps working. Iterating is trying out something new, and if it works, then that's your new normal. But if it doesn't work, it's going back to that old normal and then just keeping on until you can test other things. So it's always testing out other things that you can do just to keep going. So this is called a decision tree. So a decision tree is basically all the things that you go through. Whenever we're faced with a decision, we have to keep in mind that it's kind of like a tree. You can go back. Of course, you can go back to an old answer and redo your answer, but then it's done. So for example, decision tree is, the question is literally, do you want a book? Because I'm a bookworm, so I chose this one. If you say yes, you go through the other options, but then if you say no, maybe you want a pizza. So and then it goes through and opens up another decision tree. But if you said yes, do you like it? You say yes, you say no. If you like it, you say yes. Are you sure? Yes, then buy it. If you don't really not sure, then you need to wait. If you're saying that you don't actually like the book, but it's a good book, and you say yes, what are you waiting for? Just buy it. And if it's not really a good book, just find another one. So this is every decision that you go through. There's always a different choice that you have to decide on, and once you decide, you move on to the next thing. Once you decide, you move on to the next thing. You don't go back because then that creates more choices. Just keep going down where you're going through and just choose that solution, whatever that looks like. So hopefully this decision tree makes sense for all of you. Let me know again in the comments if you have any question. Juan has a really good question. How do you stay motivated during this pandemic? So a lot of the things that I've been doing is a lot of things that I just taught. It's being adaptable. It's switching what I'm doing. So for example, I was planning to do summer workshops this year because I was planning to teach everything that I know about work from home to teenagers. And then that didn't happen. So I had to switch. I had to be adaptable. I started teaching this online. So it's learning to be adaptable. Another way that I've stayed motivated during this pandemic is keeping in mind my goals. Again, I'm pointing my New York goal right there. Keeping in mind all the things that I want to do, all the things that I want to achieve. So that's just the way that I've been able to go up. And again, experimenting. It's always testing out new things. It's testing out other ways that I can do different things. So that's how. Hopefully that helps, Juana. Okay. Next is then leadership skills. And I'm hoping that a lot of you have been waiting for this one because I love talking about leadership skills. So leadership skills is basically how to lead people, how to get things across. It's getting people to rally behind a vision or a goal that you have. So what are the uses, of course, of leadership skills? So first thing is, it's important when you want to move up in a certain company or in a business. So if you're starting out as someone who's just doing data entry, eventually you want to become head of marketing, as just an example. So if you develop leadership skills, if you become really good at having just good leadership skills, it's easier to move up, it's easier to get promoted, it's easier to ask for that raise. So you get to have all of these things because you have really good leadership skills. Next is, this is applicable to work or personal life. If you are trying to create a nonprofit organization to help out the people in your community, having really good leadership skills, then click it, then help out, or even just at home. So the reason why I went with the branding, the virtual ate, is because I am the eldest of four siblings, and I'm also the eldest of 9 cousins. So I've been an ate my whole life, and having leadership skills, that's how I developed my leadership skills as an ate. And that's how I've been able to kind of see how other people are feeling, kind of see if a project's going to be done or not. So this is really applicable, again, to both work and your personal life. And of course, it teaches you a lot about yourself. When you're a leader, you get to see yourself in different situations. You get to see yourself facing things that you probably would never have faced if you stuck to your comfort zone. So it teaches you a lot about your limits, about your strengths and your weaknesses. And of course, it's easier for self-development. It's easier to grow yourself. It's easier to, again, see what else you can do, see what else is possible for you. So how do you actually develop your leadership skills? So the first thing is find your coach. So And this goes to finding mentors. This goes to, finding a course that relates to you to study so you can grow these skills. But if you want to be better at leadership, find someone who's already done it. Find someone who has already achieved this. So it's easier for you to also apply it to yourself. So that's the first thing. Find a coach. Find someone who can lead you the way through becoming a leader. Next is experiment with your leadership style. So there's a lot of different leadership styles out there. I think there's like at least 10. There's a lot. There's because there's of course combinations of different leadership styles. There's micromanaging, there's delegative leadership style, there's delegation by abdication where you just give people tasks without giving them mind. So there's a lot of different leadership styles out there. You have to find what fits for you. So for example, for me, I hate micromanaging with, I would rather do bungee jumping, and I have rather than micromanage someone. That's how much I hate micromanaging. So that's for me because I tested out becoming a micromanager. It never worked for me. I'm more of a delegative. I trust you to get this thing done. That's the kind of leader that I am. So experiment with your leadership style, see what works for you so you know how to work with other people as well. Next is then learn how to create systems. So if you're going to be a leader, you have to be someone who learns how to create processes, or at least learn how to teach someone how to create processes or to create systems. So systems is, of course, standard operation procedure. It could be, there's different terms for it. Creating a manual, but it's making sure that you are not a bottleneck in the company. So what I mean by that is the company does not start or die with you. that's what it is. So it's making sure that you can step away from the business. It's stepping away from managing too much for people so they can grow themselves. So that's why it's really important that you learn how to create systems. So it's easier for you to step away, to just let things grow. And that just makes you a better leader when you do that. And of course, start developing a vision. Start developing what it is that you actually want to get your team to, or your company to, or the people that you work with to, so they know why they're following you and how they're following you. So that's why it's really important. You already have a vision in mind. You have a goal in mind. So it's, of course, easy to follow. It's easier to see your journey. It's easier for other people to know where you were going. And of course, learn how to delegate. Learn how to give people tasks. Learn how to follow up, learn how to effectively make sure that they have the tools that they need to get the job done. That's a mistake that I see in so many new managers, is not making sure that everyone has the tools that they need to get the job done. So I have a few recommended reading for all of you. Some of it I've already mentioned. So a book, this book is called Mindset. By the way, all of this, again, is available on Fully Booked. It's available on National Bookstore. It's also available on Amazon if you have a Kindle. If you have the Amazon app, you can have all of these as an ebook. But these are the top readings that I really recommend for all of you. So Mindset is a really good book for your adaptability skills and your problem-solving skills. How to influence and influence people is good for your confidence skills and communication skills. 1 Minute Manager is good for all of the skills because it does teach you how to give people feedback and how to receive feedback. Linchpin is really good if you just want to become, like the term there is how to become indispensable. And Obstacle is the Way is really good for just problem solving skills, adaptability skills, and decision making skills. So I've read every single one of these books, and that's where I as much as I can, I refer to these books anytime someone wants to learn a certain skill. So that is it for tonight. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll stay here for a little bit. I'm not going to go right away. If you have any questions at all about soft skills, about any of the skills that I just talked about today, also just connect with me on Facebook, connect with me on Instagram. If you want to, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. You've probably seen a couple of my YouTube videos inside of FH Moms. So yeah, does anyone any questions, any curiosities? I'm going to go through a little bit. Mia asks, I have this thinking that I do not want a lot of responsibilities. That is why I do not apply to a higher position to the companies I work with. Do you think this is good thinking? Up to you. Up to your goals. That's why I really go back to choose your goals, choose what fits with you, because a lot of the time that's okay. If that matches your goal, if I know a lot of people who only work like 2 hours a day on a job, they have a good job, and then the rest they kind of do their own thing because they have another goal that in mind. That's okay. So it has to fit to your goal. You can be someone who is, wants to get to the top of the pyramid or whatever it is, or wants to be the boss of all bosses. If that's your goal, again, it goes back to that. It goes back to, are you okay with being that way? Does this match with your goal and what you want to do? So just keep that in mind. Does this help you move you toward your goal? Does this help you move you to where you want to go in life? And if the answer is yes, then yeah, you can keep doing that. Or if the answer is no, then you can shift. You can be more adaptable, and you can do other things. So yeah. Okay, let me know any other questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Yeah. Juan says, I will do that. The eyes on the prize. Yep. I hope you'll achieve your goals. So thank you so much, Juana. Any other questions? I'm going to try to scroll up if I missed anything, but I tried as much as possible to answer all the questions as they came in. So that's why I'm hoping that I did not miss anything. Okay. Yeah. Pauline says, sounds like problem-solving skills need effective communication skills as well as like how you said it. Yeah, that's what I really keep saying is once you know all of these top 10 skills that I just mentioned tonight, it's easier for you to see that they're all interconnected, that they all make sense, because that's something that does happen is one skill leads to the other. If you master one skill, you're actually mastering 3. Okay. Nina says, what to have for dinner or what to eat is always a problem-solving skill practice. Especially if you have kids. Like for me, I know when I was growing up, I was really kind of not picky, but I have some things that I was allergic to when I was younger. Like I can't have too much chicken because I have asthma. Can't have eggs, too much eggs. So my mom had to make those decisions. So yeah, definitely. I'm going through any questions that you guys have, so I can make sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay, so one actually said earlier, I want to improve my written and voice communication skills. That's why I practice reading aloud every day. My weakness is that I am not really a wide reader, so I try to at least learn to self-learn these soft skills. Yes, that's why the books that I recommended earlier, those are really good because of the way, especially How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you really want to learn new communication skills, that's the top book that I really recommend, because it gives you all of the tips on how to be better at communicating. And I like that you practice reading aloud every day. That does help, because that helps with your diction, that helps with your pauses, that also helps with your confidence. So that's really awesome. Okay, so I'm just going up all of the comments to make sure that I'm not missing anything. I'm seeing a lot of people who said that they did want to learn a lot of the skills that I mentioned. I think, again, I'm going up. So if you're commenting below, I'm not seeing them yet. Okay, so I think I've reached the top. So, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for an interesting topic. Yeah. Again, I had to learn how to be fluent in English because I do have an American boss, and I do have meetings with him often. So I had to learn how to be better with English. It's all just practice. It also helped that my mom was an English teacher when I was growing up, so I already knew about grammar and diction before. So yeah, let me know again. Any more questions about soft skills? Any more questions about developing any of these soft skills that I just talked about? So as a summary, give you one more, just look through the slides basically. I'm going to exit so I don't have to scroll through the thing. So first, so we have leadership skills, decision-making skills, self-motivation skills, self-confidence skills, adaptability skills, teamwork skills, problem-solving skills, creativity skills, time management skills, and then written and voice communication skills. Those are the top skills that soft skills that I really recommend that you learn if you are just starting out. If you have no idea what the soft skills are, those are the top ones that I really recommend. So yeah, I hope that you have all learned a lot. I will be back again because I'm always here every first or second Wednesday of the month. I'm always going through any soft skills. I believe next month I'm going to focus a lot on communication skills because I'm always revolving between the four topics that I have. So the next month I'm going to be talking about how to be. I'm really focusing on just communication skills, on written and verbal or voice communication skills. So if you're interested in that, of course, make sure to watch out. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a like, subscribe. If you're watching this on Facebook, share, tag people that you think would benefit from this training. And thank you so much to everyone.
Every mom has her own struggles. For most stay-at-home moms, aside from the random feeling of insecurity about not bringing home a paycheck, they struggle with never-ending household chores and errands. Working moms, on the other hand, also have an occasional feeling of being not good enough, because even though they can help with the financial needs of the family, their work sometimes hinders them from spending time with their loved ones in return. We are moms like you. We understand all these, but the question is, why choose when you can have both? Be a work-at-home mom and enjoy bonding with your family without compromising your household finances. FH Moms is here to help you jumpstart your work-at-home career. With its fast-growing community of Filipino moms who are either aspiring or already working from home, partnered with its goal to help determined Filipino moms land a home-based job, you'll surely get the help that you need through its tools, guides, and advice readily available for you. Are you ready to work from home like us? We're here to assist you every step of the way. Check the Filipina Home-Based Moms page or join the group for more details. FH Moms. Moving forward, giving back.